Welcome to the program. It's the Real Kyper and Bourne Show. Nick Kypreos, Sammy McKee, Justin Bourne, Derek Brandeo, and Jake Schultz. Jake the Snake. Here for the next 2 hours as we get ever so closer to a NHL trade deadline freeze.
Are we?
Yes.
It doesn't feel like we're getting closer.
No, we're getting close.
I know.
We're getting close.
Under 24 hours.
We are. This, of course, coming off the heels of a 29-save performance by Aiden Hill in Las Vegas, where the Toronto Maple Leafs lost quite convincingly.
Sure did.
So I'll give you guys the choice. We go game, we go trade deadline, but I think you're going to have to do it on your own from now on. I'm not speaking until the Leafs make a trade. Starting now.
God, I hope you get to talk again soon.
Please speak.
My Lord, we're going to talk about the game. We have to, but I can't say that the top of my mind isn't like, what's going on here with nothing for the Leafs. The Florida Panthers have made several trades in the last.
I've got no answer for you other than they've got something going on. There's absolutely no chance that they do nothing or they do something of, I don't know, insignificance.
Little consequence.
Little.
They waived Ryan Reeves. That's the first domino.
They need a centerman. They will end up with a centerman. The only thing is last night.
Yeah, they need 2D after watching last night.
What is last night? What is the message off of last night where you just go, we played a Stanley Cup contending team in Vegas. Did they show us something? Is there more that we need? Do we not go as big as we thought we'd go and then spread it out to more two even ones? Is there a center, a winger, and a D-man out there?
I know. I'm more than ever just like on this they need defense train. Like I just look at the teams that win cups and how good their D-cores are. But last night was very unusual for this Leafs team in the amount of players that got behind the D. I don't remember seeing so many breakaways, 2-on-1s, broken plays where the other team was just in alone.
Yeah.
Did it not feel unusual?
We've seen the Leafs on a stretch pass all season long hit Willie, especially Willie.
Yeah, but lots of guys been behind.
It was
the
almost like
D.
it was like a role reversal last night, where it's just Vegas had break after break, and the gap between forwards and defense was the size of a football field,
Yep.
and the score could have been a lot uglier.
Yeah. I mean, I went back today and I watched all the Vegas chances again. Sportlogic has them by, A grade, B, C grade. I watched them all. And it's like, God, the Leafs goaltending, as much as we're going to say they let in some squeakers here today, I'm sure we're going to get to that. They had to make a lot of saves, breakaway saves, tip saves. So they put them in a tough spot last night and created nothing.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of schedule talk going on. And I went through the audio today in preparation of our show, cutting the clips like I usually do. And I'm not sure which reporter it was asking, but every single person or person from the game, they asked, like, is the schedule, are you guys feeling the schedule? Is the schedule, and all of them to a man, not an excuse, all this, all that. But I think there's two ways to look at last night's game. And I'm sure the way, maybe not totally flush it, but I'm sure there's part of Craig Berube that's like, the part of it's a burn the tape situation, part of it maybe not. Like, that's a tough game. Just come home, back on the road. Vegas, one of the best teams in the league, on fire. You're tired from all this travel.
Yeah.
So that's sort of the glass half full.
Actually, you know what? I'll take that for this show. That's a fair take.
But
No, I'm not buying it.
But
Damn.
I look at that roster they played last night. I'm like, yeah, that's a contender. That's what a contending National Hockey League team looks like with that decor and with that, that forward depth and the size of that team. So as much as you want to give the Leafs a little bit of a break for the crazy schedule, and it's a bit of a scheduled loss and all that stuff.
God, I'm starting to really hate that term, by the way.
Scheduled loss?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah. Anyways, I'm not using it. I'm just saying, I think that there's a big, big gap between the Leafs and Vegas Golden Knights. I do. You don't get the same sense?
I don't know if it's a big gap.
Really?
No, but I
Yeah.
all that other stuff is true. But Kip is about to.
No, I'm fine. I look at the schedule and it's really goofy. It is. It's where do they end up going? Chicago.
They have 11 to 12 games on
Boston,
the road here.
Rangers, Pitt. It's goofy,
Yeah, it's
but
like, when are you ever going to cut him slack? Ever?
no,
I'm not asking you specifically.
yeah. I'd feel a lot better about it if it didn't come off of a very healthy Four Nations break for 90% of the lineup.
Or how about off a loss to San Jose as well? Doesn't that maybe colors it a bit?
The other thing, too, is, again, I can appreciate some teams that they've played recently, non-playoff teams, but we've often talked on this show that you can play 82 games in a season, and how many true measuring stick games do you get?
Yep.
And this one was one of them, and we're going to have another one Saturday night. These are good hockey clubs against world-class talent.
Mm-hmm.
And that alone should say, boys, let's see what we're made of.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see what we're up against the very best here. And that's the disappointing part of last night, not how tired you are or looking at the schedule and trying to pick scheduled losses. This is like a rare game where you go up against the very best or one of the very best and you go, boys, let's see what we're made of.
The other part of that, though, Kip, is there's been a lot of nights, not a lot, but there's been nights where they've been outplayed by teams where the goalies just make the save. They just didn't get the saves last night. They have typically got all season long, right? Like there's a couple that go in, you go, oh, Joe Woll usually makes that save. Any concern that he's put together a couple performances in a row where you're like, eh?
The concern isn't anywhere differently today than it was, I think, basically all season long, where we go two components, especially with Woll, is can he stay healthy? And then you bring in Stolars in the conversation. You're like, okay, what are these guys going to be like when the pressure is really on and they don't have that experience, right? They're both going into territory where they've never really truly been before.
Stolars has never started a playoff game.
Well,
Joe Woll
So-
is now 8 games over his career high
so
in starts at 33.
you can't underestimate right now the amount of now ongoing pressure on these guys, and in many ways they've been relied on heavily.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like there's some nights when they must be very tired. I think that last night was the first game for me where they've gotten into holes, and I think especially Stolars, for me, he's almost been near perfect where I said to myself, he can't let in the next goal. The Leafs need to get the next goal, and they're right back in the hockey game.
Yeah.
And to me, it's felt like he's done that a lot this year. Last night, Woll's in, and they both gave up that goal that they could not give up to keep their team in a hockey game. And that's just, hey, they're human. They can rebound and pick up where they left off, or maybe the weight of where they are and the pressure now to understand Florida got better, Tampa Bay got better. We got to win the division. I got to be there for them. They need me. And that can start weighing on shoulders that have never experienced that before.
Yeah, it could be. I don't, tough to speculate on that. The good news is we have the coaching staff. We have Mr. Berube several times on Woll and the overview of the game and the travel and all these things we're talking about.
If we're talking about Woll, let's play the clip 5 on Woll.
Well, I mean, if you asked him, he probably wanted the first two goals back. The Eichel shot's a pretty good shot. I mean, it's a ripper, top shelf. So I don't know what he can do on that one.
Yeah, I agree.
He's talking about Eichels?
I thought the first one he was swimming, kind of got lost, leaves a wide open net. Second one's obviously has a big time stench to it, but that's
The backhand.
yes, the Howden backhand.
I haven't seen a goal like that all year.
Yeah.
Well,
and
not
I
that
understand they're
bad.
tricky, but
Pittsburgh, Sydney, and Pittsburgh. That
Okay.
was pretty
All right.
bad too.
I'm talking all season long, not just in the last
Okay.
week.
yeah,
Okay,
we're starting to see some slide there with somebody who's going in.
Yes.
I know we have a lot more to do on that, but I know we have lots going on, lots to talk about. So I just want to make sure we talk about Matthew Nyes off the top. Fights White Cloud, guy who hit him clean.
Yeah, we kind of slept on that history a little bit.
Yeah, we did, but I think because it was a clean hit. Well, and there's people out there, maybe Sam doesn't like it or whatever, but
I didn't like it.
right.
I'm glad he had a memory on it.
It's a hit. I'm glad he physically has a memory after
Yeah.
the hit. But holy smokes, he punch-sized White Cloud's face. I mean, I know that Nyes is big, but he's a college guy.
Yeah, man, college guys have come out of college and learned how to fight real quick.
Yeah, White Cloud's a big guy, and he went, oh no. You know, he was just like, what have I done?
Yeah.
That was pretty impressive.
Is that his second fight or third fight?
Yeah, he fought in
we
Pittsburgh,
go.
right?
Don't
Here
you
we
remember
go.
the one in Toronto?
Left. White Cloud's like, please stop.
Now,
White Cloud just was like, I got to get this guy to the ground.
it did bring back memories of me being real early in my career.
Lefty.
Lefty.
Oh, my
and
God.
I've caught a few guys early, and then they catch on. I'm a lefty, and then
Next fight's different.
then a few fights later are different. But yeah,
I remember my dad.
You
saying the same thing.
wish it would have had a better effect on that first period.
Yeah,
That's
you know,
all.
I actually,
That's all.
you know, particularly coming off like Canada-U.S. game starts with a fight energy, it felt like now we're in for one, and then Vegas just breaks off. From the rest.
It's funny that you say that because we have a clip of Riley talking about the fight. Clip 1, Riley. On
Yeah, I thought it was great. Obviously a great player and an important piece to what we're doing. And you know, a young guy making a statement like that, I thought was powerful.
I mean, wasn't that powerful. He just got filled in after that.
Yeah, the team got filled in after, but I you know, maybe it's more powerful statement about him. Here's what I'll say, and I know, Kip, that you think this is how it should be, but I like that he at least will do it. There are some big guys who just won't ever do it. There's no situation. Austin Matthews is not going to fight you. Like, I understand that he had that Stamkos thing or whatever, but like, there's no amount of, he can't get there. And Nyes can get there, and I like that he can get there. Even if he, you know, got to talk himself into it pregame, whatever, I like that. I think that helps.
Yeah, for me, again, I don't want to get bogged down on the actual having to drop your gloves and fight.
Mm-hmm.
I want to get into being a physical presence most nights.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have to do what he did last night to go to a next level. What you have to do is give your opponents the idea that I can get there if I have to.
Right.
So don't mess around.
But I do think
And
this helps
he
send that
doesn't
message.
Do that yet.
No.
He can get lost for a week, 10 days, and it's like.
But he's going to score 30 goals at 22 years old. He's not just going to run around and show people
But you have to score 30 goals, and you're big enough, strong enough where you need to be. And we're talking about now turning yourself into one of the best power forwards in the game.
If that's your expectation,
right?
that's fine. But you're talking about a $10 million guy or whatever, an $8 million guy. If
We're
he
already
scores
talking
30
about
and
him.
beats people
We're
up.
already talking about him as his next contract being $8 million.
Okay, then yes.
Right? But that's his next level.
Mm-hmm.
And if he does that a few more times and you gain the reputation, then you don't have to do it all the time. But you need to send people that message that I can and I will if I have to.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And
Absolutely.
not get lost for long stretches.
You want Berube on that?
Yeah, let's play it.
Clip 4, please.
You know, I think going back to that hit, you know, he wanted some redemption. I give him a lot of credit to do that and get it out of the way early and then go play hockey.
Yeah, I give White Cloud credit too.
Giving him
for
the fight.
taking it. Yeah, taking. I guess you have to there. I mean, it's a tough spot, but he had to fight a massive mule of a guy, punched him 4 times in the face. So they get the last laugh, they win, whatever. But
I wish they didn't go quite as quietly too. The rest of the
that
team
really reflects
and
poorly
like
on it.
I'm watching.
But did you think they were that bad at the start of that game?
No,
I thought they had some jump.
They had 8 shots on goal. 4 of them were on the first power play.
Yeah.
They were down 1-0, but they had 8 or 9 quality shots on goal.
But, Kyper, they were the concerning version of themselves where it looks like years past where they control play. Oh, yeah, defense. Control play. Oh,
Wow.
yeah, crap defense. Like mistakes, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, the one that kind of sucked was you got an offensive zone face-off. You won it, and I think it was Myers that tried to go D to D, and
Buried
McCabe
there.
buried McCabe.
Had no shot to do. He had no
Right?
chance to do anything.
I think it was Sod that blocked it, and then it's like a lazy fly ball that's lost in the sun. He looked like an outfielder that couldn't pick it up. Got E1 written all over it.
I didn't hate
Right?
the idea, though, that he was like recognized a 2-on-1, but you got to err on the side of not letting the guy go to the net.
No, pick one.
Yeah.
Though, don't get caught flat-footed and then just sit in the middle because now you've given up on the net front presence and you're not close enough to pick up the trailer.
Yeah, it didn't work out. If he's
Didn't
a
work
step
out.
towards the
But
guy with the puck, I
Go
like
back
it
to
more.
Myers. Down the wall, my friend.
Yeah.
And
Myers
and
should
your
be
face.
down the wall all the time. Like, I understand he loves to shoot it.
He's
but-
an irrational confidence guy, and he's the worst. That's
Well-
not the type of guy you want to have be that.
Yeah.
And that's, again, the biggest thing that stuck out to me is like, okay, look at that defense and then look at that defense. To your point on Myers is just Timmins and Benoit. That's half your blue line right
Can't
there.
have Myers, Timmins, and Benoit. You
And
cannot.
that's where you got to seriously think about stepping up. Is it Rutsalainen? Is it, someone else? Like even
Rutsalainen, Murphy?
even that Lindgren that the Rangers got rid of,
Sure.
So, I mean,
He's just
you
hurt
need
a
it,
bunch,
but yeah, you need another guy that could maybe go 18 minutes.
you do. I
That's what they
totally
Leafs
agree with that.
need, an 18-minute guy, not a third pair, 10 to 12 minutes.
My guy Colton Parayko's gone. He's off too. He's out for 6 weeks with a knee scope after last night.
But, you mentioned you can't have Myers, Benoit, and Timmins be half of your decor. You especially can't have it when the way Riley and Oliver Ekman-Larsson are playing together. Like, you just, if you're going to have those 3 guys, you have to have confidence in your high-paid guys. And it's another -2 night from Riley and Oliver Ekman-Larsson.
Not having Tanev in kills this team.
It does. They totally got. I don't know which goal it was, but like Oliver Ekman-Larsson loses a battle on the boards. Riley's already been rubbed out. They're just wide open right in front of the net. It's just that pairing is a problem, and they keep going back to it because they have no other options. But like, you need. I guess we talked about Riley enough, but it's a problem.
Well, but
boys.
Riley is better offensively, I find, the last month. He's getting points again. He's involved in the offense. But yeah, the defense, he's never been like lock it down D guy, but he could be better. Tanev comes back. You bring in a guy. All of a sudden, it's a totally different feeling decor. But boy, it needs to be a guy and not, here's another player who can play you 13 minutes on the third pair.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I got to think that the focus as we speak probably is as much on the blue line than it is the centerman right now.
I hope so. So my belief right now, Kip, it feels like they have something with a team, something sort of tentatively agreed to, and they're just waiting to see if that other team does something else.
These are such
can get more
dangerous
for it.
They're dangerous games because what you think you might have on the line could disappear for you in a moment's notice. So
And we were saying it just feels like the deadline they get Luke Kuhn and no one else.
Oh my God.
It does.
no,
No,
I cannot believe that for a second. I'd be like dumbfounded.
Before we move on from it towards more trade stuff, I wanted to ask you both about something in that game last night that stunned me. And Leafs are down 5-0. They go on the power play, and Austin Matthews shoots one in the net.
Yeah.
and does a pretty big fist pump. And I'm not mad at him for doing that, but Austin Matthews frowns when he scores most goals. Like, if it's not a big moment or a big goal, like, he's not showing any emotion. He scores so many goals. I thought that was a little thing that's a peek inside what's going on with him right
He's
now.
frustrated.
Like, you saw him slam the gate a little bit. Like, you never, ever see that from him. And I don't know if it's just because it's not entering the net for him, if he's hurt, if he's not there mentally, but like, that to me was a bit of a peek inside. I don't know if I'm reading too much into it, but I was surprised to see him do that.
Well, for the record, I had my morning skate today. And
Oh, you
yeah,
Yeah, me
we
too.
were down 4-0 in the game. I made it 4-1, and I was really excited.
Down to a knee?
Yeah, no, I gave it a pump. I gave it a couple of
It
punts.
feels good
Archer?
to shoot it in the
was
net.
just
Archer?
it didn't even shoot in the net. It was a slight redirect,
Oh, I love
short
that.
side.
Yeah.
The goaltender, I think it was Mike, that had his toe on the post, but I snuck it in.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Pumped.
Good.
I was Austin.
And, you know, if you
But-
go long enough as a guy who lives on scoring goals, I'm sure it is bugging him.
But do you know what I mean, though? Like, unless it's a big moment, big goal where he'll do a really exaggerated celebration, years past, he's not even like looking. He's just like head down off the ice. Like, it's just having him.
Honestly, it's
Maybe I'm reading too much.
Well, I don't know what you're reading into.
Well, no, it's just like this guy is really, really at a frustrating point
Yeah.
of a season
I think
that we've never seen from
Yeah.
him.
And I think he
at
found
that.
on the shot,
Yeah, like
and it threw off Hill, and Hill couldn't even corral it. It was a bit of a gift.
Yeah, I think
It was not a typical Austin Matthews
no, but he just knows how to score. Puck lands on his stick.
pull and release.
But
you
I
know?
do think, Sam, that like when you struggle as much as he's struggled, you know, and again, people are like upset at that online that we're saying he's struggling and he's going to score 40 goals, but this is a different type of player.
You make more than Connor McDavid and Nathan McKinnon.
Yeah, and his expectations are a lot higher than this. I think when you've struggled like that, you know, these are the little ones that you hope can
But
get the ball rolling.
I watched
for
him
you.
last night early. He's handling the puck like it's a grenade.
It's jumping off
Okay?
his stick
It's
all
not
the
even
time.
close.
I know.
It's not even close.
Yeah, see, that's a weird thing, right?
Okay,
'Cause that wouldn't
it's a
have
bit of a
anything to do
weird
with
thing.
Anything.
Used to be glued to his stick.
Yes,
Mm.
and a stick of steel. He couldn't lift it up. Couldn't check it off of him, and it's got to be confidence or lack of it,
Well,
right?
well, maybe this one will get him rolling. Get him rolling in the right direction.
So
like
what
you
you're
said.
telling me is that I would read too much into that.
No, I'm not. I'm saying that when you put yourself at the mercy of the public judging your reactions to things and trying to guess your mental state when you struggle.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're fine to read
But-
into that, I think.
By the way, Kyper, I scored a couple this morning.
Did you?
Yeah.
I haven't
Do
played-
You wanna hear
better
about
than
them?
me.
I haven't
or no?
played organized hockey in
I can
4
tell you
years.
about them.
Did we
You haven't played
did we
organized
do
hockey in 4
Berube
years.
on Wall? You want to get
We
it?
did do it.
We did
do it.
We
Yeah,
did two clips.
Well, the one on
Or
the
you don't-
poll, the one on the poll was he just basically said that he was trying to wake the guys up. First time he's ever been pulled in his career, due to performance.
Really?
Yeah, and he's obviously been pulled because he's been hurt a few times and he's come out of the game. But it's the first time ever that he's been pulled.
Yeah. Did he comment on that? Did we? No. He
He didn't say anything.
looked
about
a little bothered by it on the bench, a little rattled.
His season numbers are climbing.
Do you
Is he a
think the
904
Leafs?
now or something?
Do you think the Leafs?
Yes, he's a 905 save percentage and a 278 goals against.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you think the Leafs, whatever their peak best that you've seen them this year, that they can compete against a team like that over
Yeah.
7 games?
Yeah, I do. I mean, assuming they're going to add a couple players.
No.
Oh, as presently
just-
constituted?
Yeah, just now.
Yeah, I do. I do.
You?
I don't think they're better than them.
Do I get Tanev?
Sure, you do.
Yeah. Okay. Then yeah, I do.
Okay, but they get Theodore.
Oh, and that. Well, you're talking about. Oh, I thought you were talking about like in general. But against
A 7-game
Vegas,
series right now. Do you like
I
that
think
the
it would be
Leafs
an
could
absolute-
compete with that team?
I think
The
it'll be a
Leafs
fight.
came in. I don't know what they were, 4th overall.
Yeah.
Like that's a top 5 team all
Yeah,
season
yeah.
long.
Yes,
Yep.
I know.
I'm asking you, do you think that in a 7-game series that the Leafs as is can compete against that team?
I will not let a 1-game bias ruin me to the fact that this is a good team. Yeah, I do.
I think so too. I mean, and if they're competing against them in a 7-game series, it means it's in the Stanley Cup final. So I'm pretty happy with a lot of outcomes there.
But the biggest thing we need to hear from is you don't, and why.
They're not big enough.
You think the Leafs are big enough?
The Leafs are not big enough to go against that team. I think I saw last night the biggest team I've seen all year. They're heavy. They're fast. And
I don't like that team nearly as much as you.
you don't like Vegas?
I like their D.
I like Vegas. I like Vegas, and I think they're really big.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if they've got one guy the size of Marner, let alone Nick Robertson.
Yeah. Yeah, no, and Domi's not very big either. But the Leafs, I will say the one thing with the Leafs, they have big guys that are not that physical. Lorentz is not a mean guy. Camp's not a mean guy.
I didn't see anything that said we want to, other than Nyes, to start the game. I didn't see anybody go toe to toe, shoulder to shoulder, and get that hard forecheck. But that's the only concerning part.
Mm-hmm.
And does it trickle down to, what do you think about going up against Florida now? Because, Leaf fans will take probably a 5-game series loss against Vegas if it means you're in the Stanley Cup final.
Yeah,
Listen, it would be the most heartbreaking thing of my life, but I'd kill for that heartbreak.
Yeah.
But it's not Vegas. You're thinking about like the physicalities of a Florida Panthers team now, and whether or not the Leafs will be prepared to play that Berube kind of heavy style. Would they be ready for that? Can they go to that level?
Sorry, go ahead.
For looking at Florida's lineup, it's a lot like Florida should have to worry about the Leafs lineup up front, because obviously Barkov's Barkov and Reinhardt's Reinhardt. But, the second line with Sam Miskevich and Evan Rodriguez, and, beyond that, it's Finland with Lutzerainen and Lundell.
They play
Boqvist.
heavy, though. They do play heavy.
That's what I mean by
Lundell
Finland.
plays heavy.
That's what I mean by Finland.
Yeah.
But those guys should have to worry about, are they going to be able to catch Willie and stop Matthews and contain Marner? And, it's...
But past that,
I know.
like I'm watching McMahon last night, and I think you got to go back 6 games before he had a shot on goal. I think he had 1 shot on goal last night. He's 2 weeks. He's not been
streaky. He needs
not
to
been very
find
good.
a game where he's not scoring and he's helping.
This may be blasphemy, but I'd rather face Florida in the first round than Tampa.
I would too, for sure. No doubt about it. Well, particularly with Tkachuk out. Kachuk back changes that math for me.
And listen, people can clip that and play it like they did the "We Want Florida" thing, and when they actually chanted they wanted Boston too.
Yeah.
But they like to pick the one that they had Florida. Florida, scary, no question. A lot of miles. They've played a ton of hockey. That one scares me less than Tampa right now.
A 6'3" guy like Brad Treliving, 6'3".
Yeah.
A forward.
Kyper
6'3".
just wants some
Get a
mutants.
winger, get a centerman, get somebody minimal.
Trent Frederick.
6'3".
Yeah.
Lawson Krause.
Utah's going for it.
Go get that guy. Go get that guy.
I don't know.
I want
Is
horses
he
back
physical?
there.
He's
Yeah, he
big.
is.
He's big.
He is
What's
big.
the other guy you
Utah's
like from there?
4 points out of playoffs.
McBain? You like McBain?
I like
I like
McBain.
McBain.
Yeah.
Yes.
McBain.
I'm in on
Can
McBain.
you get McBain?
Yeah.
You just want to build the biggest team ever.
I
don't
just want
listen.
big. I just want big.
I do just look at that third line, and it does feel
The third line's not going to be the third line. It cannot be the third line.
Okay.
Like right now for the Leafs, you've got McMahon, who had been driving that line, who's not playing well with Domi and Robertson.
Mm-hmm.
By the time you're in playoffs, I like to think it's McMahon and I think I said the other day, who's the center that you like out there, Lawton and Pacioretty, or it's different, it's bigger, it's
Yeah. Like Patch, you got to remember too. Max Pacioretty gave you everything he had for about 45 games, and then the guy ran out of gas.
boy did he.
But in those 45,
Did he give it?
he was a mule.
But can he give it to you for
No, he's done.
20 more?
He's done. No.
He's not going to play again this year?
I don't know if he's going to play this anymore, but can you count on it?
No.
Right? So
He threw
I
a
don't
couple
know.
of the biggest hits the Leafs have seen since Phaneuf was here.
I don't. He broke.
He did.
He broke down.
Yeah.
So where are you now with 20 games thinking you're going to count on that in the Stanley Cup playoffs?
Yeah, and
I
you
give
can.
him full credit because he didn't even come close his whole career to giving what he gave physically to the Toronto Maple Leafs. And it'd be fun to get him back in the lineup if he could keep doing it, but I don't know where he is with his shoulders and his back. He could be done.
all things equal right now, McMahon, Domi, Robertson is not the Leafs' third line in playoffs. Mark my words.
That was kind of
And-
proven last night.
Yes, it definitely will not be.
They can play against bad teams. Like they've looked good against Chicago
your
and
points.
Pittsburgh, and like you need to win those games too. But when it comes to the big boy hockey, I don't necessarily
Yeah.
think that they have a ton.
Mikko Rantanen, is there any thought, update, whatever? We had a small chat in the group where I was saying, in my fantasy brain, I've cooked up this world for the Leafs where it's like, Tavares money comes off the books, cap goes up, you could have Marner and Rantanen.
I said that on the morning show.
You did.
I did.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's
with-
mathematically possible.
I had to like help Gunner up off the floor. He was a mess. He was a puddle. He was worse than you, Sammy.
Yeah, he is worse than me.
Yeah, he's worse than you. I'm
No
like,
question.
Relax. There's still time, buddy.
Yeah.
But the last thing I heard coming into this show was there was 2 or 3 legit teams right now talking to Carolina, and the Leafs were one of them. So I don't know where it goes. I don't know how serious it gets, but Dallas, I heard, Vegas,
Oh my God.
Florida,
Oh my.
and Toronto were the 4 teams that I had heard. The problem is
They need a
like,
player.
I don't think Carolina is going to get what they think that they can get,
So there's
and then they got to make a hard decision on keeping him or just get what we can get. But the Leafs
I think
aren't.
they keep him.
The Leafs are not in a position right now to strip roster players off to get him,
No.
because then it becomes a little counterproductive, right?
Yeah. No, you need it as an addition, not a instead of.
Go ahead.
Unless they would take Tavares plus prospects or whatever, and then you talk.
Tavares won't go.
No, he won't go, and then you've asked him to, and it's awkward. And even if you bring Rantanen in with Tavares here, then Tavares knows he's gone after the season. That's no good either. It's not happening. It's fantasy.
Unless
unless I love that word.
you commit to a 8-year deal
Mhm.
and you give up Nyes. That's the only way I see it. I don't think they would take McMahon.
Mm-mm.
And then think about it. Outside of the core 4,
Mhm.
who else is there to give?
I did have the thought, like, would they, like, if you could guarantee, like, Marner would extend there or something, would they flip those two? It's like, that's not happening. Why would Marner do that? He'll just go to UFA. So
That's
that
right.
doesn't work.
That's right.
So there's no
There's
one.
no choice. Like,
Yeah.
there's nothing.
Yeah.
Even McMahon
Yeah.
wouldn't even be coming close to maybe what someone thought of him maybe 2 weeks ago.
No, you're right.
But I think we're all in agreement here that if Mikko Rantanen would commit 8 years to the Toronto Maple Leafs, if you had to include Matthew Nyes in that deal, that's a deal you make
Bye-bye.
10 times out of 10.
100%.
And that, I think, would excite Carolina.
Well, it should. That's a nice hockey player you're talking about who's 22 years old or
Yeah.
something.
I don't know.
Outside of that, I like
You know, who
I like
him is
Dallas.
Brindamore. Brindamore would like.
I like
Nyes.
Dallas. Ben's coming off the books. They've got lots of room to bring him in and
No
keep him
tax.
as well. And no
Good
tax.
Heiskanen and him, Finnish
Yeah.
boys.
Oh boy.
I
Yes.
I gotta ask though, because I got trade. You know, I'm just been thinking about it. What's the word I'm looking for?
Fatigue?
Not fatigue. What's the other one I'm looking for? Envy.
Mm.
Trade envy. You know, the Toronto Maple Leafs, the one year that they really got splashy, and Kyle Dubas seemed like he was a little bit at his wits' end, and who was actually calling the shots, and then he ends up leaving. Ryan O'Reilly comes in, Luke Shen comes
They
in,
win.
Noel Achari comes in. They took some big swings, and that was really exciting as a fan. And could they just make the big swing? Like, can they just put their you-know-what on the table
Yeah.
and make the big, crazy decision?
Yeah.
That it's just been so safe
Mhm.
for 8 years, where it's like, we'll stick with these guys. We'll stick with these guys. Okay, we'll fire the general manager. Okay, we'll fire the coach. Okay, we'll do this. Put your on the table
Yeah.
and make the big swing.
And it's funny. If
Risk it.
You look at Tampa Bay, and yesterday everyone shared their first round picks over the past
Who
8 years.
cares?
One guy, no one cares. Vegas, their first-round picks that they've made over the past, 8-9 years, they've traded every single guy
one of
they
them.
drafted.
Yes.
Save for maybe one. So it's like, yeah, these guys have made big moves. They've had success. They've won cups. They've been contenders. It would be nice.
Trying and failing will yield less regret than failing to try.
Oh, thank you, Confucius. Where was that from?
Kyper was.
Ryan
I've never
Holiday?
seen anyone Google harder over
Yeah.
there. This guy's just.
I love that saying.
It's a
Marcus
fantastic
Aurelius?
saying.
Who was that?
Love that saying.
But do you know what I mean? Like, Leaf fans have had to watch specifically
Loved and lost?
in their division, Florida make big swings. Tampa make big swings. In the 1 year, like I said, the Leafs made big swings. They had their most success they've ever had, and it was awesome, and it was exciting. It wasn't a ton of success. Don't get me wrong.
Tampa.
What do you mean Tampa?
That's Tampa.
Yeah, Tampa,
That's
I know.
Tampa. That's
Yes.
Tampa. That's
Yeah, but why can't that be the Leafs?
It can be.
No, it can't. It's because
the
every
market is so critical.
every single guy
It's
that comes
us.
out,
We're
they're
the
like,
reason.
that might cost ownership of the Leafs to get that guy on the Leafs. It's like, it's just so concentrated here with all the values and all the stuff that these little Florida teams, they just get to make all
I
these
will
little
say-
decisions. And
I will say, if you're another team and you're going to trade a big name and it's Mikko Rantanen or whatever, you don't want to get the trade wrong to Toronto.
for sure.
It is going to be 10 times
That is
more highlighted,
such a
scrutinized.
Great point.
It's like, that's not the place you want to take your risk to. I'd rather make it over there, Florida. Let's see if David Dwork picks it up from the Florida Sentinel.
Yeah, like,
And
honestly.
if he doesn't, we're in the clear.
I
I
just,
think I got his name wrong. Sorry, David.
I'm going to be sick if Rantanen ends up in Florida. Like, I will legitimately be sick.
I think it's a long shot too.
I think
don't
it's a
he's
long shot that
going.
he
I don't
goes
think he's
anywhere, but they've pulled stuff
Yeah.
off.
I know. I hear you.
Just do something big. The fans are dying for it. Who cares about picks, man? Who cares? Oh, the 2027 first. A guy that's going to contribute in 8 years. Who cares?
We're going to be covering some bad
God,
teams
I'm gonna be- buddy.
if you're the GM.
Buddy, I'm going to be in a hut in the forest in 8 years. I don't care. Just trade it.
Are you our first caller on Leaf
Sorry,
Line?
man.
This has
I'm
been
just-
Sam from Mo and Sam.
I just watch everybody else make all the trades. Anyways, I'm done.
Okay.
Let's go.
Take
We
a
got,
deep breath.
yeah, we got some good calls.
We got some good callers,
We do.
we not?
We do. We have three
All
or
right.
four.
After the break. Watching and listening to Sammy
Sorry,
McKee
sorry.
crying.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Back after these words. Yeah, Sammy, I do believe that the Leafs are not out of it. And they're like a number of teams right now, I believe, that are trying to convince Carolina that we'd like to help you out. We're willing to give you pieces. We just don't want to upset our team. And we don't have Nakash.
Natchez.
We don't have a Natchez to give you. Like you did for Rantanen.
But it can be Nyes is a younger version of a guy who's like this.
The Leafs, I don't think, are going to go there.
No. For the record, I wouldn't have traded Nyes
Right,
for
and-
Natchez.
Yeah, in short term, you could look at it and say Rantanen is better than Nyes today,
Mhm.
and he may have given us a better chance today with his experience and just, where he is.
He's a elite
Or
point guy.
can we get him and keep Nyes? And now how much better are we?
So much.
So much.
But
So it's like, are you going to push hard for that margin, or do you want the bigger margin?
buddy, I want the big margin.
Yeah, every Leaf fan wants the bigger margin. It depends now on, for the Leafs, it depends on not so much what they're offering Carolina, but what others are.
Mhm.
And if they're in the ballpark and they all, not collude, but they all go back to Carolina and say, you're not getting what you thought, but there's still enough here so you don't feel like you got nothing when he leaves
Mhm.
in July, then we're in the game.
And I stand by the point I made to Sam, though. If it is Dallas, Vegas, and Toronto, and all the packages are close, you don't want to make the deal with Toronto. You don't want that smoke. You don't want to hear about it every day, right? I mean, you would have to like the package more than the other packages. All things equal.
Yeah, it all depends on your scouting staff and how much you feel like you love Cowan or Minton or anything Dallas or Florida or Vegas need to throw to you.
Then you start to think, could the Leafs trade Cowan and or Minton to another team for someone that Carolina likes? You know what I mean? Like, you go out and you trade those guys for who's Carolina like that's a good player. Someone off a bad team, a high-end guy, Brock Nelson, but not Brock Nelson, a younger version. Make a three-way deal.
Feels like a lot in 24 hours, boys.
You're hoping it's not been 24
You're
hours. You're hoping it's been the last 72 or 96.
And then the Leafs would have to sign Rantanen, which I would think
good.
13 million.
Okay.
13.25, 13.5.
Matching contracts, him and Marner, bing, bing. Day after the trade
day.
deadline.
Done.
Day after the trade deadline, bang.
Tavares goes,
Where's my money?
You keep playing.
That's where that is right now.
Right.
With tick, 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 tick.
I know.
I have something to say here.
Oh, boy.
That's a little bit, it's a cross-sport reference, so baseball reference here. I am getting a bit of Jay's offseason vibes from Brad Treliving right now, where
in on it.
Shooting for the moon. We're talking Ohtani, Rantanen. We're talking Juan Soto, Brock Nelson. We're talking these big names, Corey Bellinger.
Really like
Cody
the
Bellinger,
Jays'
Braden
second choice.
Braden Shen.
Yeah.
And they get none of those guys, and it's like, I hope you like Justin Turner, Luke Kunin. It's like, I really feel like they're focusing on the high end.
Yeah.
And if that doesn't work out, you're left holding the fourth line left winger of the San Jose Sharks. Or Brandon Tanev, who I like, but, doesn't change the outlook. Anyways, that was my last thought. Let's go to a call. This is a great call. Let's go to Bruce in Scarborough.
So this message is meant directly for one particular Canadian, Chief. Chief, I think that the team is starting to play like the old Maple Leafs used to play. And it's up to you to change this. They're shooting on empty nets when they should be defending. They're showing up and not trying to chase down pucks, rather trying to easily take pucks and go score on the other goal. This is not Maple Leaf hockey that Craig Berube would appreciate. We saw what you can do at the beginning of the year. And when the team was suffering because they didn't have an Austin Matthews, we saw the team come together, roll 4 lines, and play Craig Berube hockey. Now they're extending shifts. Now they're out there trying to get their cookies. You have 4 lines, Craig. We have a playoff series coming up, Craig. We need Craig Berube hockey.
Thanks to Kip's dad for that one.
Bruce used a cookie reference.
I heard that call today, and I think there's something to that. I think they played at the start of the year a lot of Berube hockey.
Craig.
But I just thought there's something to that. I did. Do you guys agree?
I
been
think
a bit of a dip?
the part that I take away from it is that what we have seen from Berube so far this year is maybe different from what we thought we would see. And some of that was that there was a little Team A and Team B. That's been a common criticism on this show. And I don't know that I sit here today feeling like there's been some uniting of that force. We talked early in the season about how it was a much heavier dump and chase team. I don't feel like they're quite as dump and chase oriented of late. So I think there's something to this.
Craig Berube hockey.
Yeah, I think there's something to that call.
Yeah.
I
played it.
I thought it was a good call.
Yeah.
Very good call. I think that what probably Craig and the guys were able to do in November and December is kind of maybe too much of the same now in March. Teams adjust. Teams watch. They see patterns. They see, and for me, I think the caller's right, Bruce, that I'd like to see some adjustments. I'd like to see different looks. I'd like to see at times less dump and chase.
Okay.
And right now, I think the Leafs are very predictable.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he didn't use that word, but I think that's what he was probably leaning towards.
I do wonder now, too, if they're kind of waiting for help, right? They know they're tied for first in the Atlantic. They know it's the deadline. They know Matthew said they need a pop. They've gotten a pop every year from someone. I wonder if some of these guys right now are going, okay, we need, what are you doing?
And the other thing he mentioned,
for reasons.
the extended shifts. I'm watching it again, guys.
Power play cookies are out of control.
And I'm like, he's relying on his 4 guys way too much. And then I know he's made comments like, oh, I kind of got guilty of overplaying them a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, that should not happen
at
this time of year.
No, I think you're right. And I do think that there's something, it's so important to leave the next line in a good spot. And I think when you change early, you can get the puck in deep. And even if you have some legs, I think that there's something to that too. So, yeah, I'm on board with the call.
We have one more quick one. We have a lot more, but we talked a lot today. Sorry, it's newsy time, Leafs line. We'll get back into it next week. But let's go to John Doe from Prince George.
Just want to say you guys snickered at the kid that they signed out of Prince George. Don't be sleeping on that kid. He's a fun kid to watch. But also I'm reading that the Leafs are willing to trade Matthew Knies if Mikko Rantanen's willing to commit long term. I just don't know if that makes sense. Like you're trying to add to your bottom 6, not trying to upgrade the top 6. I don't know. I just don't like the fact we give away Knies for Mikko Rantanen, who's not been the same since he's left Nathan McKinnon. But who knows? That's probably why I'm not a GM. Anyway, I just want to hear your guys' thoughts.
I think we kind of covered this, did we not?
But Matthew Knies is the reason I want to play that. He is beloved by the fan base. He has really ingratiated himself as like the first non-core 4 guy to come in here and make an impact.
Yeah.
And like that call from John Doe and Prince George. I'm just assuming it's Prince George because Prince George was where that kid plays that the Leafs signed.
Yeah.
Still don't know his name, unfortunately. But
Borja Vallis.
Yeah. Talk about taking a risk. That's a big risk. I would love them to do it, but that's a big one.
I think I can safely say that if the Leafs find a way to get Rantanen, it won't be at the expense of moving Knies.
Okay.
And I'll say that you would like to upgrade the bottom 6, but if you can improve the top 6, you do that first. I think that's something you would willingly do. No, I think that's all I need to say about that. Borja Vallis, 59 games played, 30 and 44 for 74 points, 44 PIMs for the Prince George Cougars.
Nice.
Stolarz in Colorado, right? Start?
Yeah.
Or would you go back to Woll, Joseph Woll, to kind of rectify correct a bad night?
I think I need to know how Stolarz' knee's holding up. Are we pushing this recovery? Is it swelling up after he's playing? Is everything okay? If he's okay, go back.
Yeah. Monday in Utah, that's screaming Joe Woll to me.
Yeah.
And I mean, Stolar's been the better goalie. It's a premier start against one of the best teams in the league, Hockey Night in Canada. He's earned that.
And it's another measuring stick game. We talked about those. This Avs team's not messing around.
Yeah.
Okay, our thanks to no one except
to
the 3 of us.
And John Doe.
Oh, callers.
Prince George and Bruce and Scarborough.
Yes, those are our real guests.
Yeah.
When we return, top of the hour, we go national. Figure out what's going on with the Edmonton Oilers with our favorite analyst out in Alberta, Rob Brown.
Yep.
Will join us.
Why,
Plenty more. What's that?
Why? What's going on in Edmonton?
What's going on in Edmonton?
I'd love to know.
We'll find out when we return. Real Kyper and Bourne. It's the national edition of the Real Kyper and Bourne Show. We are live on Sportsnet 650 in Vancouver, Sportsnet 960 in Calgary. This hour of Real Kyper and Bourne brought to you by Bet365. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee. In a few minutes, we'll welcome in Rob Brown, former NHLer, Edmonton Oiler analyst. For Ched, we'll get into the fragile Edmonton Oilers. What do you got going, Sam? You got anything for us?
I'm just keeping my X fingers or Twitter fingers very lively here. I will say, from a Sportsnet perspective, having to do a big, long show tomorrow, it's pretty good so far about the lack of guys
Pretty rare that
have
there's
flown off the board here, because it feels like in years past, we've joked that like the general managers are doing it on purpose, where they get like everybody done 2 or 3 days before the actual trade deadline, and everybody has to sit there and twiddle their thumbs. A lot of the big targets are still out there, right? Like I know Gord went out, but like Shen hasn't gone anywhere. Maybe he won't. Lawton, there's Rand, and there's lots to talk about.
And
Anyways.
if we
Brad
put,
Marchand,
if we put,
Brock Nelson.
yeah, we'll discuss. But if we put Rantanen at the top of the list, is that what's kind of holding things back here?
I heard someone theorize that could be Carolina intentionally holding back the market, right? Because it's to their advantage if other teams are uncertain and scrambling, and it's competition. You're trying to win. The more you can give teams false information, the better.
But at some point, what we believe now, that includes perhaps the Maple Leafs, the Dallas Stars, Vegas, maybe Florida. They all have their own. They have their own deadline, like to Carolina.
Say, if you don't tell us by noon tomorrow,
Noon's too late.
Yeah.
Tonight, midnight.
Tonight, I think at some point they got to go. Not only do we have to come up with the right assets for you, I got to negotiate with this guy.
Yeah.
I got to get him under contract.
Well, and that could be part of what's happening right now, is that teams have said, yeah, okay, we would do that deal. You talk to Mikko and see if Mikko wants to do that. And Mikko says, I'm going to be a free agent in 2 months. I'm good.
Yeah, that's the thing to me.
Nate, just say anything about it?
Nate just had comments.
And this is the player that originally got traded for him a month and change ago.
Yeah, he said, they probably should have known that he was going to sign there when they made that trade. Well, he's probably mad at the management there, and he's like, if they think they're so smart, maybe they should have thought the guy was going to stay.
I think a lot of people are saying that they've really kind of painted themselves in a corner here because they are not getting the return that they had hoped, even though they got Chicago to pay 50% of his salary. Apparently, no team, as if this afternoon, was willing to give them a significant rostered player and upset their own lineup.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I think the Kawhi Leonard thing really messed with a lot of people's head, where it was like, you either get the guy and take a shot with him, or you hopefully re-sign him. You try to re-sign him, you do all you can. If it doesn't work out, you get a shot with him. And that's why, to me, if they don't get one of these guys you're talking about, they'll take a shot with them. They're a pretty good team. I got them as one of the 4 best teams by some of my fancy numbers.
Shen, because I think Shen has taken a bit of a backdoor in the conversations here to Rantanen being at the top. Yeah, and I saw that you wrote about it today.
I did, yeah.
Where are we at with Shen?
The ask was really big out of the Toronto Maple Leafs, especially because I don't think that any other team has really shown as much interest as the Leafs, at least up.
Don't bet against yourselves.
Going in this week, but it was possibly 3 blue chip pieces, including your prospects or your first round pick next year.
So like a Cowan Danford first round pick, 2 first round picks, Cowan first.
Oh my God!
Yes.
For a third liner with a bad contract,
Wow.
Scary.
I mean, full respect to the player. And
Hence
his
why
career,
it's not done.
The years ahead don't appeal to me.
Okay, let's get to Rob Brown, and we'll pick it up as we move forward here. Brownie, how are you, my friend? Thanks for joining us.
Oh, thanks for having me, guys. Big couple days here.
Yes.
All right, so does this recent skid by the Edmonton Oilers change the dynamics of going into Friday at 3 p.m. Eastern on a trade deadline for the Edmonton Oilers?
It might not change what the general manager is going to do, but it certainly changed what the fans want. The fans, I mean, personally, I think the Oilers need a top 6 scorer. They have tried everybody this year playing with Leon Draisaitl, who's having an MVP type season. and nobody has had success with him. I think going into the playoffs, you'd love to have a top six where Connor runs one line, Leon runs another, and both scare the opposition. They don't have someone that can play with Leon right now. I think the Oilers certainly need a top four defenseman. Klingberg was, a shot in the dark. Maybe he can turn out to be what he was years ago. It hasn't worked out as well. He's probably a number 6 here. So they still need a top four. But if you ask the fans here, it's goaltending, goaltending, goaltending. And I don't think Pickard or Skinner have been as good as they were last year. But to me, this is an issue of the defense in front of these two goaltenders. And when I say defense, not the 6 guys playing each night, I'm talking about team defense. When this team is good, and we saw last year's 16-game winning streak going to Game 7 Stanley Cup Finals, they were a very good defensive hockey club. They, in the last 13 games, they have not been good at all. They have, they're averaging like 2-3 breakaways against a game, odd man breaks, wide open shots in the slot. So this is, to me, I don't think Stan Bowman changes what he expects or what he wants by whatever it is, 1 o'clock tomorrow. But the fans right here, everything you see on social media right now is the fans believe that the Oilers need another goaltender if they want to go to the promised land.
Wow. So do you feel like this Oilers team is better than last year's, or in as good a position to go deep?
I don't think they're as good as last year's team. I think you look what they lost in the summer just up front. Holloway, Fogle, McLeod. I did a thing for our podcast about a week and a half ago. So the numbers are a little out of line. They're probably even more discrepancy now. But when I did it, those 3 players that left scored 44 goals and were plus 40. The 3 players that were brought in, Arvidsson, Skinner, and Podkolzin, had 23 goals and were plus 6. So just those 3 players are different. They were more physical last year. They were bigger, they were younger, they were faster. So this summer, they made some moves. They became slower, they became older, and not as physical. On the back end, Broberg, there's your top 4 defenseman that they're desperately needing. He's gone. So there were some mistakes made last year. And the bottom line, though, is right now, there's 3 players on this Oiler team that have played up to their potential or better than they were last year. Leon Draisaitl, who's having an MVP season, has been excellent. And on the back end, both Nurse and Kulak have outplayed what they did last year. Every other player, including Connor McDavid, and he talked about it, every other player on the Edmonton Oilers has been a lesser player this year than last year. So right now, they're not as good a team that went to Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals. Having said that, they still have Connor and Leon. And when you have those two, it gives you a chance every time you play a hockey game.
So if they wanted to go out there and shore up the blue line, Ristolainen's out there. I'm not sure how anybody feels about him, but he's a guy that we believe that could play 15, 17, 18 minutes, maybe 20 a night. Do they have the assets? Do they not have the assets to get those type of deals done? Do they just choose not to use those assets?
Well, the cupboard is close to bare here in Edmonton. They've been throwing assets out the last couple of years, trying to get to that next level. So there's not a whole lot. The only playable asset they have right now would be Matt Savoy, who they traded McLeod for. Savoy, he's looked fine in the games he's had. He's not a this year player. He's a next year player. So there's a guy, and then a couple of junior players. They don't have a lot of draft picks. I'm sure there's teams around the National Hockey League that have more assets than the Oilers have. And then there's the big question is, do they have Kane's money or not? Mm-hmm. And that's I think it's $5 million difference if Kane plays before the season's out or if he sits out on LTIR. So those are questions that haven't been answered. Now, I'm sure that Bowman must have some idea if he can play with that money or not. But this is a team, tonight, for example, Ekholm is out of the lineup. And they've got Dineen playing tonight. They got Stetcher in there. They got Emberson in there. You look at the Oilers' defense for this hockey game, and you think, oh my, what if we don't pick up someone at the deadline and all of a sudden Ekholm gets hurt or a Nurse gets hurt? It becomes very thin on the back end for the Edmonton Oilers. So they need defensive help. A top 4 guy would be fantastic. Someone that can stop the cycle. They need a big, nasty top 4 guy that can play physical, because this is not a physical hockey team right now, the Edmonton Oilers.
You know, it's funny hearing you say they need like a top 6 forward and a top 4D. This is getting expensive. But one place they did get a real bargain, I thought, was the Frederick deal. A second and a fourth. I don't know much about the prospect, but second and fourth for Trent Frederick is great. How concerned are you about his injury and when he'll get in? But let's say he is playing. You like the fit, I assume.
I do. The team is better with him here. They gave up a couple prospects. They might turn out, and they gave up a couple draft picks. I mean, seriously, they gave up 4 things to get a guy that is supposed to be in your bottom 6.
That's just
so.
enough.
What does a top 6 guy get you? The thing is, right now with the Oilers, tonight I think it's Podkolzin and Arvidsson are playing with Leon, and I think combined in their last 30 games have 2 goals. So that's not the top 6. Frederick might play in their top 6. That might be Leon's winger the day he gets back into the lineup. And I don't know if that's the expectation, but unless the Oilers find something in the next, I guess it's 22 hours, he could get an opportunity in the top 6. They've more or less given up on Jeff Skinner. He's a healthy scratch again tonight. He was supposed to be on Leon's line this year, and Arvidsson hasn't produced anywhere close to what he was supposed to produce. So this is a team that if you would have 3 weeks ago, 13, 14 games ago, you would have thought on the deadline, Stan Bowman, a couple tweaks here, maybe add some depth up front, maybe a 6-7 defenseman on the back end, and we're good. But the Oilers have been exposed in the last 13 games. They've lost 6 of their last 7. I think they have 1 regulation win in their last 11 games. They've been exposed at times. The Anaheim Ducks came in here. The Ducks were a much faster hockey club than the Oilers, and the Ducks aren't going to make the playoffs. So there are some concerns. But again, this is a team that the core that went to the Game 7 last year is still here. They just haven't played as well as they're capable of playing. They need to find that gear, and hopefully they find it soon.
You're watching and listening to Rob Brown, former NHL forward, covering the Edmonton Oilers. Brownie, so we got to get to McDavid for sure, but just one last thing on Evander Kane. No real clarity, as you just mentioned. So where is the speculation that he thinks he might be ready to play and Edmonton's not ready to put him in? They're trying to trade him. Where do you think this is heading?
It's funny. There's a lot of talk that the Oilers should tell him he can't play till the playoffs. You can't do that. You just can't. It's against the rules. And if it ever came out, there'd be a lot of repercussions from the NHL. When Stone and Kucherov sat out for their teams and didn't come back to the playoff, they both knew. Stone and Kucherov knew that the day they dressed, the first playoff game, they were going to be exactly in the spot that they left. Kucherov was the best player for Tampa, and Stone was going to be on your first line. He's going to play on your first power play, penalty killing. When Evander Kane, when he's been fully healthy here in Edmonton at times, has been on the 3rd line. He's been on the 4th line. He does not know if all of a sudden they use his money, that money could bring in someone that takes Evander Kane's spot in the top 6 or the top 9. Yeah. Evander Kane wants to prove that he can play in the top 6. If he's capable of playing in the regular season, he would want to. And that's his right as a hockey player. The biggest benefit for the Oilers is if Kane stays on LTIR, comes back in the playoffs, and he's effective and he uses money and become a better team with what you pick up at the deadline. But for all the fans that want him to just, you got to tell him he can't play. You can't do that. I don't know if they've had the conversation, if he's come out and told the organization. Bowman's got to know before tomorrow if he can spend that money or not. I know that my buddy Schauger just put out that he hasn't worked out back-to-back days yet. So he's still a long ways away from playing an NHL hockey game. I guess we'll see at noon tomorrow whether or not they've got his money to spend, because that is a huge, huge chunk of change that they can go out and get a very effective hockey player for this team.
Mm-hmm. I hope they get an answer soon here. Time's ticking.
Well, every day, every hour that goes by, somebody that you might have wanted has gone somewhere else. And the Vegas Golden Knights got a little bit better. The Colorado Avalanche have gotten a little bit better. And these are, as well as I do, in the playoffs, being a little bit better might be the difference between winning Game 7 or losing Game 7.
Yeah, no team would be more aware of that than the Oilers. looking like LA right now. Who knows how it shakes out in the postseason? Do you feel like LA is any different? Like, is it the same? Going to be another knockdown dragout series?
I think it will. I know Oiler fans are hoping for LA simply because each year the Oilers have beat them a little bit quicker.
Right.
I think the difference between LA past and LA now, I think LA's got better goaltending. I think Darcy Kemper's given them good goaltending. I would expect LA to make some sort of move. The biggest thing that they lack is a game breaker goal scorer outside of Kempe. I don't know if you can try to beat the Oilers 2-1 4 times in a series, and that's the way that LA plays. The one thing that I'm fearful of, and I do believe if the Oilers and LA play in the first round, I'm picking the Oilers to win that. But I also understand odds. And all those years when the Dallas Stars were better than the Oilers, they beat them every year, except that one time where everything went right for the for the Edmonton Oilers, and they had the big upset. I do believe the Oilers have to get a little better because I think LA will. And that would be the problem is you don't want to go through LA and then go through Vegas. You'd like to have a little easier round in the first round, but right now the Oilers have been treading water, and the Vegas Golden Knights have put a little bit of separation between the two teams.
All right, pal, I got to ask you about Connor McDavid and just the thoughts of him coming back after the Four Nations tournament and kind of looking like a mere mortal, right? I mean, and just where's the concern now? Where's the concern there?
I don't know if there's ever concern about Connor McDavid. I think there's an expectation as he's going to bounce back and be Connor McDavid. I felt that last game against Anaheim, there was more jump in his game. I mean, it's funny. He's talked about having a down year. He's not happy with it. And he's still, I think, 5th in the league in scoring, which pretty good. But I mean, this is a guy that you would expect to win the scoring title by 20 points. And every night is the best player on the ice. He hasn't been. This has been Leon's year. They need Connor to be the Oilers are not good enough through forwards 4 through 14 to have a above average or just really good Connor. This team was built around Connor and Leon. They're 2 superstars that play a lot of minutes in every situation. When Connor McDavid gets back to being Connor McDavid, the wins will start to come again. But I don't think there's concern. But this has been an off year for Connor McDavid in the fact that his bar is so high. He just hasn't reached it yet.
Brownie, any personal experience at the trade deadline?
Not at the trade deadline. The Penguins made one of their greatest trades ever at Christmas when they traded me away and picked up Scott Young and then went on to win 2 Stanley Cups. So no. So I never. It is you're on pins and needles at the deadline though. You are. It's funny as fans and as announcers, we're all like excited about where are these players going. But every time for example, the Oilers say they bring 3 players in. That's 3 players in the lineup that are moving down.
Yeah.
Some 3 guys are either out of the lineup or moving down in the pecking order. You lose guys off your team. Those are your best friends. So every team has about 4 or 5 guys that the trade doesn't affect. The rest of the players are affected by a trade, by ice time, by being in and out of the lineup, possibly being moved out because of salary cap problems. So it's exciting for us. And when it's all said and done come playoff time, it's exciting for the players. But for players like myself at the deadline, it was a little more anxiety than for some of the stars or for us here sitting here talking about it. This is fun for us. Not all the players feel the same way.
So between now and I guess 1 p.m. your time, trade deadline, you expect to see something added of significance or no?
Well, if Evander Kane is going to be on LTIR for the remainder of the season, or if he's traded, I believe it'd be something of significance. If they don't have his money, it will be depth. They certainly need depth on the back end. So they will be adding a defenseman. I don't know if it's a top 4 guy, but they will be adding a defenseman. I believe even with Frederick and Max Jones, I do believe they'll try to find another forward. They will try to hit a home run if they've got Evander Kane's money, but I just don't know if that's going to come to fruition or not.
A little bit of a wish list with the name Brad Marchand, because
any team would love Brad Marchand. Oh my goodness!
How fun would he be for the Oilers?
Oh, having him and Perry, I just put them out to start every game.
Oh,
Seriously, have those
yeah.
two guys out there just to irritate the opposition.
Yeah,
That'd be awesome.
ever looking out at them going, oh, God, someone else start.
Imagine the 5 guys standing on the blue line on the other team. They're like, why am I in the starting lineup? Seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can fantasize on that one.
would be
That's for
fun.
sure. Okay, Brownie, really appreciate it, man. Enjoy the rest of the week or the trade deadline, and we'll roll the dice and see what happens.
Sounds good, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Brownie.
Rob Brown. Oh, I forgot to ask him about, take a look at his stats, okay? Because we were roughly the same age.
Yeah. I'm looking at
And
him. I got him pulled up.
The guy ended up, at certain levels, scoring 150 points.
No, he actually had 212 in Kamloops.
But, look how many times in his career. No, look, I don't even care about his goals and assists and points. Look how many times he's broken over 100 penalty minutes.
Oh, I know. Oh, it's gross. His first year, he had 115 points, or second year, 115 points and 118 PIMs.
I mean, I always make this joke.
Is he the best NHLer that people don't talk about?
Yeah, he's had it.
His career statistics are insane.
Insane. He had 180 penalty minutes. One year he had 155 points. How is that possible?
No, the second year, Kamloops in 85-86, 171 PIMs and 173 points. How's there enough ice time?
I don't know.
That's crazy.
I don't know.
I know some of these
46
some of those
points
IHL
in-
years are crazy.
46 points in 16 playoff games one year for the Kamloops Blazers. Anyways, good player.
And
And great guy.
Yeah, fun. Always fun having him on the show.
So we were talking about Shen before we got to Brownie.
Mm-hmm.
Do we want to continue the conversation?
Yeah,
about Shen?
yeah.
So
Luke Shen to Pittsburgh.
Oh, yeah. Or what about Braden Shen?
Oh, okay, Braden. Okay.
Do you get the sense that there's a lot more suitors than the city that were
Not at Doug Armstrong's price.
okay?
I think if he always has the option of shedding money, which the reason why we had so many names out there as possible trades was because there's a lot of guys that he was listening on, and I think he's got the option of losing $5, $6, $8 million in the summer.
Mm-hmm.
And Kyperos's a very good player and would draw a ton of interest. He's got to decide by July 1st if he wants to have the freedom to move him or keep him when the clauses kick in.
Mm-hmm.
Shen would be another one. Jordan Binnington would be another summertime decision. But right now, I think Jordan's made a plea, I think, publicly that we love each other and we want to be together and take a run at this. And probably that's what's going to happen in St. Louis.
Binnington's been really good since
Yeah.
since the Four Nations.
Well, maybe his confidence is at an all-time high
Well,
right
probably feeling a little bit looser after bringing home a gold medal and getting
Yeah.
all the respect and all the starts.
Sorry, since the start of the Four Nations, with the Four Nations and regular season included, he's 7-2-0, 214
Wow.
goals against and a 9-15 save percentage, which is way up from his. God, that's to me.
The trade to
Destined to be an
Pittsburgh
Oiler.
is kind of interesting with brother Luke.
Luke and Novak for Michael Bunting. I mean, I know there's more pieces, but no one cares about the picks and stuff.
Can I ask a very complicated question?
You would think flip
Why?
for sure. You'd think flip.
Yeah, it seems to me like I bet they think Novak can replace Bunting's value. And then they can flip Shen and gain value on the deal there.
Or you could keep him and tell Sid you've got a big defenseman back there ready to step in and help you out next October.
Sid's pretty smart. I mean, Luke's fine, right? But he's not going to move the needle for the Penguins.
He's big and heavy,
Yeah.
and he can help you.
Yes. Like, listen, I'm not trying to denigrate Luke
Yeah.
Shen.
He can, if you're adding him to a contending team where he plays in your
Yeah.
bottom pair, he helps you.
Yeah.
But like
You're-
being
you're-
like, hey, Sid, we got Luke Shen, it's probably not the greatest sell.
No, it's just it buys you time.
That's the point I'm
That's
trying to
all.
make.
It just buys you a little bit of time and
Mhm.
a good guy in the room. Listen, I'm grasping at straws for this organization here.
Maybe he just wants to get Nick Robertson back so desperately, so he's going to trade him to the Leafs.
Maybe. I can see it. I can see him getting Nick Robertson. But yeah, it makes sense for me from the Penguins. I think Novak is
got
one of
another
those
year.
guys, the numbers sneaky like, that you could see as
Luke
undervalued.
makes a lot of money, guys, too.
He does.
275, I believe. That's not chump change.
But yeah, you say you're grasping at straws for the Penguins.
Yes,
Yeah.
I am.
It's a weird trade.
I don't think it's that weird.
No?
Bunting is even any good?
No, he's hurt too. I think he had like something went on with him where he's been out for a while. But anyways, you want to do game time?
Game time.
All right. It's game time presented by Bet365. Visit the app for latest odds and find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 19 plus. Ontario only. Please play responsibly. I'm just pulling up. Yesterday we talked about the Coach of the Year Jack Adams Award, and I couldn't figure out how to pull it up on the fly, but I pulled it up here now. And the extreme heavy favorite is Spencer Carberry.
Yes.
Minus 650.
Oh, my God.
Dean Evison, as you mentioned, in the conversation, is the only one that's even close to Spencer Carberry. It is plus 450 for Dean Evison, so he's the second favorite. And then it drops all the way down to Scott Arniel at plus 3,500.
I think he should be tighter with that first two group.
Scott Arniel deserves way more credit.
Way more respect.
Jets talk.
Yeah, Jets are going to win the President's Trophy, and I don't think anyone picked him for that preseason.
And then the next closest to him is Marty St. Louis at 40-1. The stair runner. When we all called him out for running the stairs that turned around their season, Kyper. We lit a fire underneath them. The favorite for this one makes me sick as I look at this. The favorite for the Hart Memorial Trophy, Leon Draisaitl at minus 150.
So
when we talked about it, it was 25-1.
Yeah.
Yeah, I probably should put a couple buckets on that one.
Just.
Yeah. And I talked about it. I'm like, what a great number. You got to get it at. So that minus 150. The next closest, guys. Who do you think the next closest is?
Nate.
Nope.
Cooch?
Nope.
Oh, Hellebuck.
Hellebuck, plus 130. So he's close there. And then it's Nathan McKinnon all the way down at plus 750. Kucherov, 18-1. Connor McDavid, 35-1. Werenski, 45-1. So
right.
Some interesting stuff there. And then,
Werenski been very good, by the way. Ton of points.
yeah, and if you're interested in him for the Norris, he is the second favorite at plus 220. Cale Makar is minus 140. Quinn Hughes missed a bunch of time
I tell
now.
you, don't hate that plus 220 on
Yeah.
Werenski.
And Quinn Hughes missed a bunch of time now, especially if they get in the playoffs. So Quinn Hughes is down to plus 350 because he's been out for a long time. Anyways, that was game time presented by Bet365. Visit the app for latest odds and find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 19 plus. Ontario only. Please play responsibly.
All right, we'll take a quick break.
We get a trade to talk about in the show.
We're making phone calls.
Let's go. Get one on the
We're going to go to break
one.
and we're all going to talk to
Yes.
someone and try to get a piece of information.
All right, plenty more to cover. Eastern Conference, Western Conference. What Sammy had for lunch today. Plenty more when we return to Real Kyper and Bourne. Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee. Reminder, this hour of Real Kyper and Bourne brought to you by Bet365.
You teased my lunch before the break.
I did. Share it because I don't have a trade.
Grilled cheese.
Yeah.
With a little lentil soup. And when I do my grilled
Lentils.
cheese,
Your mom make you lunch?
no, I made it myself. I make my own lunch every day. And I like to slice purple onions really, really thin so they're almost like translucent.
You got
And
too
I
much
put them on the grilled cheese. And
Sounds
I love grilled
amazing.
cheese.
Sounds like
I
a
don't
heck
have
of a
one very
lunch.
often, but I love a grilled cheese.
Processed cheese.
No. I mean, like, whatever Cracker Barrel is that process?
No, we'll give you credit. Just a good
checking.
cheddar.
Okay, yeah.
Just checking.
Yeah.
When's the last time you grilled a cheese?
I love to cook.
Oh, you do? Okay,
I
that's
do.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, I do.
I like to do it.
I like the barbecue.
Yeah, I mean, But I have like 5 things in the Rolodex, and I do them okay, and I do them over and over.
Yeah.
Just over and over and over the same 5 to 6 things, and I can do them okay.
Can't go wrong with
Not
good
exactly
grilled
Gordon
cheese.
Ramsay over here.
Idiot sandwich.
So, Sammy,
Yes.
it must warm your heart when you see the Panthers make another trade, right, with Nico Sturm.
Yeah, great.
Nico Sturm, they got Kakinen and Vanacek behind Bob now. Do they not trust Bob?
I'll read the little.
Bob could have.
Bob's
Bob's great.
What about
Bob's
Bob?
your uncle?
But Bob could go south every once in a while and need a game or two to reset.
He gets a little squirrely from time to time. The Florida Panthers are continuing their spending spree ahead of the Friday's deadline. The Panthers have acquired Nico Sturm and a 7th-round pick from the San Jose Sharks for a 4th-round pick. Sturm, 29, has been a third-line center this season, tallying 7 goals and 6 assists over 47 games for the last-place Sharks. His -4 rating is 3rd best amongst forwards on the Sharks that have played at least 30 games. There's a scouting report for you.
All right, sure.
Won the Cup with the Colorado Avalanche. He'll go there. He'll be good.
Just wanted to give a quick shout out to DJ Bean and Pete Blackburn, who just started a 24-hour trade deadline show, which is insane. That is the most insane thing. Why are they doing that?
Well, you could get that 4 a.m. blockbuster.
It's awesome. I
Right?
mean, credit to him.
And tell nobody
Credit to him.
until like 3 hours later.
One year I was with the Score, and we had a couple of guys in a room doing a drinking game to the trade deadline. This is back when, I don't know, anything went.
Yeah.
And every time that, cap crunch, certain words came up, they had to drink. Duffy found out about it. Someone tweeted him, and he just said all the words. And we just got 2 interns just ruined the Score. That was how unserious our deadline coverage was.
And you
And then-
still work today?
Yeah, well, I did go to rehab, so we hit a few speed bumps along the way to get where we are now. But anyway,
Oh, gosh.
you worked the deadline for years.
And I was like, when the internet was barely invented.
Yeah.
Smoke signals to announce a trade.
But tough days, right? Like, although you were on the phone a lot, you were doing
we were on
insider
the
work.
phone. Yeah, I did a lot of that, and I was fortunate enough early in my career to break
You should
trades
break
for
everything.
Sportsnet. I did. I
Yeah,
was
you had a
like,
good run.
I was pissing off Bob McKenzie too.
Well, I remember that. I remember that you had the accidental DM that went public, and
yeah, it was fantastic. It was so much fun back
it
then.
was competitive.
Yeah, really
Back
competitive.
in our day.
There was nothing better to me than like that era of trade deadline where it was the 2 dueling ones and people, and you didn't have Twitter.
Yeah.
You didn't have like
Twitter's ruined a lot of the fun.
I turned that baby on at 8 a.m. I took school off, I took work off, and I sat there for 8 hours and just hung on every word.
But by the
everyone
time
said.
it's set on TV now, you've known for 10 minutes.
100%.
You know.
We were the first ones to introduce like phones. Before, you could not bring up your phone. When I first started broadcasting, they were like, you don't bring up your phone, and it was frowned upon if your phone rang on the set.
Sarah Valli, who we were going to have on today and may talk to at some point, I don't know, says that the Devils and Ryan O'Reilly are getting close. Says he has 2 years left on his deal. They've expressed interest in him,
Yeah.
but enough so that he's tweeting about it, probably a bit of a thing. If I had to guess.
Yeah, okay, we'll pick up on that. I was just saying that,
Oh,
I don't know. Remind me what I was saying.
We're talking about-
don't- trade deadline, phones on.
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
So we were like, no, bring him on and let him ring. And
Yeah.
if you need to get up off the desk, you get off the desk.
Well,
that
and
was
that
never
adds
done.
to
It
the
was
intrigue.
Yes.
never done before.
Yeah.
And it got to the point where Bobby Torrance, I won't mention my producer's name. Oh, I did already. He'd say, okay, get up now.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. We got nothing. We need you to step
And
away.
then he'd go to commercial break.
Yeah.
And
That's
then everybody
really
be
good.
like, he'd be like, oh, Kipper's just taking a call right
He's
now.
got something.
You got something? Don't go away.
Telling his wife to make a grilled cheese with purple onion.
Drager would be like, oh, we'll be back with Kipper.
Get the lentil soup going.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun.
That
Lot of
sounds
fun.
fun. Well, this year we do have all of the usual suspects are going to be on Sportsnet's coverage. I saw
Yeah.
Colby Armstrong in the building. Biz
What a
is
great
going to
guy.
be
Yeah.
here. He's the
I'll
best.
be home eating a grilled cheese sandwich.
Yes, and we will be here to tie a bow on everything from
5 p.m.
5 to 7.
5 p.m. to 7, where we'll still welcome in Doug McLean.
Yes.
Is he
and-
scheduled?
And we're
on-
national the
I
whole
haven't,
time.
I haven't talked to him, but I would imagine he's good to go. Have you talked to him?
I have not.
Really?
I have not.
He doesn't talk to me, so.
So, couple things. I don't know if you saw this Brock Nelson thing we're talking about. That CJ Chris Johnson saying that there's maybe it's not a guarantee or they haven't really approached him that they're going to move him. He's already been crying on the jumbotron, crying in the club.
This is mental.
If they don't trade him, man,
The Islanders are currently behind Boston, Montreal, Detroit, and the Rangers, and then Ottawa and the Blue Jackets are in. Now, they're only 4 points out technically. So you could see Lou being like, we have a chance. We're 4 points out. We go on a run here.
Where do you think Islander ownership is at? And this is not just about Lou and 3 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. This is about where's Lou going?
Is Lou the GM next year? Do we want him to make a monster decision here? Give
Is this
Nelson a
his team?
7-year contract?
Is it still his team this summer at the draft? Is it still his team July 1st? And is it his team to manage on a day-to-day basis
I think
by next fall?
That's such a great point.
I don't think there's an answer right now. I do think that they have considered what next options might look like. Because Lou is 82.
How can you not?
Yeah, you have to start making succession plans. His son does work as an AGM there. But there's a lot of people. It's a highly coveted job. I also wonder for this year, they just built that new beautiful barn. Do you think they're really pushing for a couple of home gates? They trying to make playoffs this year just to a lot of money in for these owners.
Is it the 3 or 4 points? Is it the 4 or 5 teams you got to jump over? Do the math. How many of those teams above you are playing each other and getting 3-point games? It's a long shot at best. Just
they probably
sometimes-
need 30 points from their last 21 games.
which
So,
would give them what?
15
80,
and 6. That would give them
90,
points.
93?
Oof.
I'm not
15
even
and
sure.
6.
Will that be enough?
It'll be enough. In the East, it'll be a low number, I think, to get in. But can the Isles go 15 and 6 when on the year they're 500?
At some
20,
point, you
26?
got to stop playing that card of
Yeah, but now's the point. You got to do it now. You got to trade Brock Nelson now. They need to trade Brock Nelson. He is in decline. They are not likely to make playoffs. They need to be honest with themselves and not be worse in the coming years.
Yeah.
Trying to get 2 home
So-
games.
And Palmieri is a free agent
Where-
as well, right?
He's got 20 goals this year. Someone
Those
will
are
take him as a
two
depth guy.
Obvious.
Pajot would be a great fit for someone. They have guys. They need to commit. Beating Winnipeg the other night was the worst thing to happen to them. Anyhow.
So speaking of which, where's Nashville with Ryan O'Reilly here? Because we know it's been a miserable year, but can they not pull a Washington Capitals and regroup and get some different faces and keep core guys and get back?
Nashville?
Yeah. Can they not pull a Washington
You know what?
Capitals?
I don't think so. They went too old. They weren't good enough, and now who are they built around? Like Stamkos, Forsberg, and Marchand? Is that? You're going up against Colorado, Dallas, Winnipeg?
I could see. I don't know. He's probably got a no move, but Marchand, could you convince him to move on?
Probably. They're terrible. He's very
You're
competitive.
going to keep Stamkos
I guess.
out of the two of them.
By the way, O'Reilly just occurred to me. Did he not love Sheldon Keefe? Wasn't that part of a thing with Toronto?
I don't know.
Or maybe it was just Toronto market in general.
Yeah, some people have
There was
suggested
a lot of smoke and fire around that situation.
Yeah,
Maybe a combo of both.
I have no inside knowledge on what the issue was with Ryan O'Reilly when he left the Toronto Maple Leafs, other than it just wasn't his cup of tea.
Mhm.
That he needed some sort of life outside the rink.
Yeah.
And we know at Toronto it
I
can get
respect that.
really goofy.
Yeah.
So
If you're a
I-
Leafs fan, you are enjoying
we know he's
Nashville struggling.
that he knows the coverage in Nashville wouldn't be Toronto centric for sure, and that wouldn't be an issue. But I don't know. I think he made a commitment to Nashville, and I can't see him.
You don't think he'll go anywhere?
I don't know. I can't see him wanting to.
I will
move.
say that tweet says they've expressed an interest in
Yeah.
him. That doesn't say that something's almost done.
Yeah,
Bruins taking calls on Marchand. That's from the 4th period.
Yeah,
they
I-
can take as many calls as they want, but he doesn't want to go anywhere, and it's hard to really commit to bringing a guy of that stature
Mm-hmm.
if he's not super
Committed.
excited.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's an issue in itself.
You don't want him going reluctantly to some other team.
And I don't know where they are with the
It would
contract.
excite him to play for Colorado.
I think Boston is very willing to sign him to a contract, but it's probably not what he envisioned months ago or going into the season on what an extension can be. But he still wants to retire a Boston Bruin, and that means something to him and his family. And Boston's had a reputation of looking after their players, and we know what it took for Chara to eventually leave. But how old was Chara when he went? 41.
Yeah, old.
Right, and it was just to extend. It was very mutual.
Yeah.
It wasn't like we don't want him anymore. It's just
like, would Marchand not do 2 times 5 for 10, something like that? It's probably not enough.
I have no idea what kind of numbers it would take from both sides. That one I have not been able to wrap my head around.
So, to this point, of all the trades that have been made, and we still have under 24 hours to the deadline, what do you think is the most consequential? Like, who's gotten the best so far? Is it the Panthers getting Seth Jones for you? Is it what Tampa did? Is it Edmonton getting Trent Frederick? Like, of those three, I guess those are the ones that have a lot of consequence. Riley Smith went back.
Seth Jones is for 5 years.
Yeah, the Edmonton one still. He's hurt. He's not playing. It doesn't sound like he's going to play anytime soon. That one was, to me, I would have gone and got a defenseman with a second and a fourth that could play 15, 17 minutes.
Yeah,
in
I
Edmonton.
just love that guy for them. And maybe I'm not thinking of the reality of, are they going to get that guy by the time they need that guy?
Yeah.
What's his contract status? He's an RFA?
Yeah, I think he's UFA.
UFA. So curious to see what they end up doing there.
If Florida, and I'll use a term that Steve Allicat used on our show Tuesday, can rehabilitate Seth Jones, and they've how many defensemen have they done that with in the last few years?
What have they made Gustav Forsling into?
They claimed him on waivers now.
Yeah.
Like they've
lockdown
got
guys in the
rock star status in turning guys' careers around.
Remember peak New England Patriots where they were like winning Super Bowls and they would just bring in the most emotionally flawed humans who were talented, and all of a sudden they were like fell in line.
Yeah.
I'm watching Sam Reinhart in Buffalo early in his career, and I'm like, I don't think he's going to be a real player.
I honestly had the same thought. I was like, he can't skate.
He's not getting to the net. Nothing happens when he's on the ice.
And then the Four Nations face-off starts, and he's playing with Connor McDavid on the top line.
After scoring a gazillion goals and helping his team win
He's
the
like
Stanley
100
Cup.
goals in the last calendar year.
Including the game winner in the Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final, I believe.
Do you know? It was the game winner in Game 7 of the Cup Final.
Yeah,
is that good?
That's a pretty big goal.
Seems good.
Yeah.
Seems good. Seth Jones is averaging 23 minutes of ice time per game this year.
Yeah, and that's going to come down, and he's going to get better with
fresher
less
Jones
minutes.
who skates and has less responsibility, and suddenly people are going to be like, boy, Florida fixed him. And it's like, well, yeah, they didn't ask him to be prime Hedman.
No, there's other good players on their team.
Yeah.
So,
and sometimes when you pass the puck up, someone makes a play with it, and you get to play in the offensive zone when you're in Florida.
In his debut, he did play 22-56 for the Panthers.
To your earlier point, I do look at Tampa Bay, and I see down the middle Point, Cirelli, and Gord, and I'm like,
Point, Cirelli, and Gord. Now, is that better than Domi, Kemp, Tavares?
Well, you left out Matthews.
I was selective.
It's a challenge for sure.
It is. It's a big matchup challenge.
Then that's Bjorkstrand too on that third line.
I love the thing that terrifies me is that, Tampa's really good at knowing what fits. And a lot of people were talking about Gord being older, Gord being banged up, all the sort of conversations around Gord. And there's nobody that would know him as well as John Cooper. Like, they won together in Milwaukee, right? Like, he was part of that group that came up with Tyler Johnson and all those different guys. He's going to go there, and that's going to be a seamless fit, and he's going to score 3 playoff goals against the Leafs.
I bet they're not done. I do.
Really?
Well, you look at Tampa, and they're so close. Gensel, Point, Kucherov, Hagel, Cirelli, Paul, Gord, Bjorkstrand.
Yeah.
Pretty loaded. But after that, it's Gonsalves, Chafee, Glendening, Gergensons. Only okay.
And I
Couple of names. on
I've
the
said
back
this
end that you
before,
don't
but I'll
love.
say it again. This team kind of changed with a 35-year-old Ryan McDonough.
Yeah, with him being like prime Ryan McDonough, or very good Ryan McDonough.
Very good.
Yeah.
So
And these guys, it also helps when you talked about excitement. They love going back to where they've won.
Yeah.
Right? McDonough is happy to be back. Gord's happy to be back. Riley Smith's going back
Oh my
to
God.
Vegas.
apparently he's fired up.
Thrilled.
Yeah. How could you not be?
Yeah.
Like I went to when I went to that Vegas Pittsburgh game 2 years ago last year, and he wasn't playing, he was banged up, but they like put him up on the Jumbotron as like welcome back. It was his first time back. The woman beside me in the crowd was crying. Like they're like, "Oh my God, Riley!"
Yeah.
Like he is a beloved figure in Vegas.
Yeah.
Those guys all know him. Like that's gonna fit like a glove. He's gonna be perfect there. Like all these teams just get the perfect guy all the time. Why is it?
That's not, that's perception.
Vegas?
Not
Yeah, it's
true.
perception. They go to the conference finals every year, go to the final every year. It's perception. Every Florida team goes to the final every year. Just works out for these southern teams, man. They don't have
You
to.
want to jump off the set a little early and go get your crying towel?
So I'll ask you about this. When do you think the flurry starts here? Because there's going to be a flurry, right?
Yeah, in theory.
Like, is it tonight? Early tomorrow?
Don Waddell, who's a guest kind enough to join us yesterday, general manager, president, said prices drop
He said the morning of.
the morning of.
A lot of teams going, yeah, well, this guy's a second. We'll trade you for a second. We'll trade you for a second. Oh,
Third-
we're going to get nothing?
Seconds
Third's
become
fine.
thirds, thirds become fourths.
Yeah.
But
So
you have to have some guts to wait, eh? Like, just to
Yeah, the people you may want shopping or buy someone else.
yeah.
won't be the same that Alex Kerfoot's off the trade board
He
now.
is
too.
off. He is.
Yeah, they signed a bunch of guys last night.
One year, $3 million.
1 million, 3 million. Ian Cole and
Ian Cole's not.
Vejmelka?
looked- Vejmelka I like.
Vermelka got like almost $24 million.
He's really good.
What was his deal, Sammy? 5 years
I think it was 5.
for 23 million.
Let me just look it up.
Devils got Dumoulin, right?
Yeah.
They're going to work on getting Brian Dumoulin in tomorrow, trying to get him into town.
I'm just quickly looking up
This Jack Hughes thing, they spend his money? I think the Devils just say this is not
Well,
our year.
clearly they are. They're not going to. They cannot wave the white flag on the season.
Yeah, they're in playoffs. They're talking about O'Reilly. They traded for Dumoulin. They're not rolling over.
Vejmelka signed a 5-year, $4.75 million per season contract with the Utahns, the Utah Hockey Club.
I don't know who this guy texted before, but there's a Brisebois quote that says, the calculation is that trying to fail will lead less regret than failing to try.
I said that.
Yeah, I know.
That was his. Yeah, I know.
Oh, that was
Oh,
his
but you
quote.
did- but
That's
you-
where you got it
no,
from.
I said it.
Oh,
Yeah, I
okay.
know.
He said it was his quote.
No, you
Oh.
didn't. You withheld that.
I thought you just like went deep on us there.
No. I said I like this quote,
Oh,
and it was from him.
okay.
I thought you guys knew that.
No.
I
didn't.
I thought you were just making a philosophical
No,
observation.
I was reading
was
his
shocking.
quote. Guys, don't give me that
We
much
should-
credit.
In retrospect, we were
One
very
of us
dumb
should
to
have
give
picked
it.
that up. Anyway.
Oh, my God. Tonight's exciting, boys. I'm hoping there's a couple late night trade tonight, maybe. We're getting into the.
I'm more
Short and
convinced that the
curlies here.
Leafs have a 2-player deal, a forward and a D from one team in the hopper here.
Philadelphia Flyers.
That's the hope. Risto makes sense.
Yeah, no, I'll take him.
Yeah.
I'll take him for the Leafs. He'd make
Also,
things
a
more
big
interesting.
deal. Stephen A. Smith signed for $100 million with ESPN. 5 years, $100 million.
Him and Kyper got the same deal.
Is that about? I was
Yeah.
going to ask. Is that you guys same agent or what?
Stop it, you guys. All right. Our thanks to Rob Brown.
That's it.
That's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. And the callers.
Yep.
Have a great night, everybody. We're back off of the rails Friday. Doug McLean, 5 to 7 Eastern tomorrow.